Hello and welcome to the Untranslatable podcast. And today we are talking about a problem that most of you have probably experienced if you've traveled and crossed different time zones. And that is the issue of jet lag. You know, we've done a lot of episodes about travel in the past. I don't know how we let this one slip through our fingers, but jet lag is definitely quite a problem when you travel. It can really derail your travel plans if you're super excited to go see and do a lot of things, but you're just too tired, or you're waking up at 3 a.m. like I was my first week here in China. So we're going to talk about jet lag today, give you some tips and tricks on how to overcome it and what you can do to make your transition into a new time zone a little bit easier and a little bit smoother. So my man who is all about being smooth, my buddy Jared. What's going on, Jared?
Hello. Jared, smooth man minor here. No one is above jet lag. I don't care how tough you think you are. I used to think I was above it, but not the case. Definitely not the case. I used to think that it doesn't really affect me. It definitely does. But before we get into that,
spread a little love.
Follow us on Instagram, Untranslatable Podcast. Chad, where were you that you just sent me pictures? I mean, in the space continuum, the people have already seen the pictures, but where were you when you sent me those pictures?
I was in the beautiful city of Chengdu, which is the birthplace of Confucius.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Check out pictures of Chad in that city on Untranslatable Podcast. Twitter, Untranslatable1, the number 1. Then there's also our email, untranslatablepodcast@gmail.com. 5-star reviews.
Spread a little love.
On iTunes and Stitcher, Untranslatable Podcast is the podcast. Spread the love.
Spread a little love.
With 5-star reviews. Spread the love verbally. You know, I went on a date one time many years ago, and someone asked me what podcast I listened to, and I casually just threw in. I made sure it was in the middle. Untranslatable Podcast, as if it was nothing. Didn't think I'd be dating her years later. Anyway,
Great story.
You can
much better love story than Twilight, that's for sure.
Well, it's not over yet. Also,
spread a little love.
Follow us on WeChat. Untranslatable Friends on WeChat. Thank you.
Spread a little love.
You spent the last weekend in Beijing, if I'm not mistaken.
No, Chengdu. But I spent the last couple days in Beijing, yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm not even going to ask. I don't even... Okay. Well, the reason I'm bringing it up anyway is because weren't you planning to go to a Halloween party?
That will be this coming weekend.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So what was Chengdu? Chengdu? What was Chengdu about? Why'd you?
Chengdu was for work. So I went to Chengdu to do some workshops. I did a workshop in an English teaching methodology class where I taught them some examples of games, which I also did the previous weekend in Xi'an.
I didn't realize how many times you'd have to give these presentations. This is more weekends than not.
Yes, correct.
Interesting.
Well,
I didn't realize it was that often.
Well, it depends how many events you sign up for. So I signed up for quite a few events in the beginning.
I imagine you signing up for every single one available.
Right. But thankfully in November, I really won't have as many presentations. So I'm planning on just enjoying my weekends. Not that I didn't enjoy my weekend, but it was definitely a lot of work. Exactly.
Doing repeating presentations, which obviously you have to do. Does that ever get old?
I think it would, but I have I'll only present something usually 3 times. After 3 times, I shelve it. I could use it again later, but I think it depends on
freshen up in your mind a little bit.
Exactly. So I would like maybe use it 3 times, shelve it, and then maybe modify it and use it again later. But I have like a menu of, I think, 5 or 6 different presentations I give. And so I can kind of pick and choose. So for me, that's what's important.
They don't tell you what you have to, like, they don't ask
Right.
request a topic.
Right. Well, now they sometimes will say we're hoping to focus this workshop more on reading or speaking or whatever. And then you send in a menu that's related to that. You send in like
So
a
you're
short
still doing
blurb.
games, but games focused on reading.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Yeah.
All right.
But Chufu was really awesome. Got to meet a lot of really, really great people. I was there to visit my coworker, Kelly. She teaches there. And so on Friday night, I taught, well, not Friday night, but Friday afternoon from 2 to 4, I did the games presentation. And these are all English teachers that will be very soon actually doing like a teacher's like practicum where they will be in schools teaching. So I'm hoping that the games I gave them, they'll be able to use in their teaching. I always try to give games that are very flexible and open. And also games that don't require a ton of materials other than like maybe a PowerPoint slide, or even you could just explain it to the students orally. So we talked about those games on our last episode or 2 episodes ago.
Yes, we did. That was a lot of fun. There are also clips on our Instagram, Untranslatable Podcast,
Spread a little love.
and on our WeChat, Untranslatable Friends, of us playing some of those games, Mad Libs categories, for example. Do you, I forgot what I was going to say now, but, yeah, totally forgot. So did you explore Chufu?
I did, at least on Friday morning. So I actually came into Chufu really early. I got in at like 7:50 a.m. And but the nice thing was the train ride to Chufu was actually faster than my taxi ride from my apartment to the train station. My cab ride from the apartment to the train station was about 40 minutes. My train ride to Chufu was 32 or 35 minutes.
So it was also in the Shandong province.
Very good. Yes, it is.
Parada.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
And so the cool thing about Chufu is it's much smaller than Jinan. I think there's only about 60,000. It's either 60 or 600,000, but either way, Jinan has Jinan has, I believe, like around 8.5 million. So quite a big difference. And I felt a little bit like I was kind of back in Dexter. There were like some nice little fields that we were driving by from the train station to the hotel. And it was really great. I saw the Confucius Temple, which was super awesome. And then I also saw the Confucius family mansion, which was pretty sweet. And there were a lot of tourists, a lot of Chinese tourists. And also what I learned is that Chinese students are they're not asked, they're required to memorize the Confucius Analects, which are like his sayings or proverbs or like his writings. And then what they do is they take the kids to the Confucius temple, and sometimes they even wear traditional Chinese clothing, and the children will have to recite the Confucius Analects for a grade. Now, we didn't see any...
essentially.
Yes, and the other interesting thing is a part of the temple.
Talk about pressure.
You can light candles and you can like pay your respects to Confucius. And it's interesting though because in China, like because of the Communist Party here, like you cannot be a member of the Communist Party and also be religious. But the interesting thing is they treat Confucianism in a way almost kind of like a religion. Like you see people like kind of looks like they're praying, like they have like a mat on the ground at the temple. So you you get on your knees and you bow down, and I think it could be viewed as either praying or giving respects. I'm not really sure which is the correct term,
But is
but it's
Confucius
interesting.
a real person?
Yeah. Confucius was
Not like Jesus.
was a man.
Was like, yeah, he was a guy, but he wasn't really. He was probably just a normal carpenter.
Right. The interesting thing is that when I was talking to my friend Kelly about it, like we kind of came to the conclusion that in a way, Confucius is kind of like a Chinese Jesus, because he went around telling people to like do the right thing and be good. He was a very wise man, and
no, sorry, I didn't keep going.
I'm not so sure if I'd go that far. Also, he had like a very long beard and long hair and wore a robe. So there's another similarity. But yeah, it was really cool. And the thing about this too is this has really made me want to learn more about Confucianism, because it is a very interesting. I think there's a lot of philosophies of his that are really great and would be I would be a little bit wiser as a person to know these things. So yeah. But yeah, Chufu was great. It was really awesome. Had some delicious Chinese food. Now the funny thing is though, Jared, so the second day I gave a workshop at a middle school called Chufu Oriental Middle School. And the middle school is top of the art. I think the school was built like last year. And this campus is huge. They have 900 students. I thought I was almost on like a small college campus. Like you should have seen like they had like a huge soccer field and like all these really nice basketball courts outside, state-of-the-art smart boards in the classroom, which I had never used before, so that was also kind of confusing presenting with these smart boards and trying to like get them to work.
Technology, I could imagine you being like, it's broken.
Well, I walked by the smart board and I think my shirt just like touched the board, and then the screen went like white, and I was like, oh, what do I do? What happened? And so teacher got up and like hit a couple buttons, and then it worked.
At my job, there's like technology in like the meeting rooms for like using like the projecting stuff on the TVs. I still have no idea how any of that stuff works, and I'm just like, I hope I'm never the one that has to be relied on to set this up, because I don't know how any of these things work.
Yeah,
that sounds
it's
like
tricky.
Cool. I love.
Yeah,
that
it was really great.
Much. I mean, you're forced to explore this much.
I do too, but guess what the next kind of news agenda is for work, for me?
Oh no, you have to go off the grid for months.
No. Okay. Thankfully, no. No. No, what I have to do is, that's right. What I have to do is I don't have to, but I've been asked to organize a conference here in Jinan for December.
Oh my gosh. This is big news.
It is. It is.
So what goes into organizing a conference?
So I have to scope out the hotels and make sure. I think I've already found the hotel.
So like
then I have to.
That's going to be the one that like everyone stays at.
Yep, everyone stays at, and also where the conference will be held. So,
okay.
So I'm going to, and I also have reached out to other English language fellows here in China to see who will present. So I have to organize the schedule. And then other than that, then I have to also then talk with the hotel and do that. Yeah, so.
This is like a real responsibility, Chad.
No kidding. No kidding, yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah.
And so you're essentially doing what you've been doing in Ulaanbaatar and Chufu and Xi'an.
Xi'an. Yes, correct.
Okay. So do you also, you don't have to do this, sure, but would it also be good for you to figure out some activities for people to do in the evening?
Yeah. Thankfully the hotel that I'm going to choose is right downtown. So I live pretty far away from downtown.
Are you going to stay at the hotel too?
So technically, that's the thing. So technically, I'm not supposed to, because it's at my post where I live. Right. But, if I stay at the hotel, I have to pay out of my own pocket. But I may do that on Friday night, just because the conference would be on Saturday, and then I don't have to wake up at, the conference will start at 9.
And worry about
I would probably have to get up at 6:30 just to get there and make sure I'm there on time. Plus, I saw the breakfast buffet there, dude. It looks bomb. So I think the $100 or whatever.
Breakfast too, don't they?
Actually, well, this place, I don't know if they served it for breakfast, but they had like a little whiteboard that had a drawing of hamburgers and tacos. So I don't know if that's only for lunch, but I went there at 10:30 in the morning. Intercontinental, Jinan. It looks super swanky. It's really nice. And they have like all sorts of different, they have like Western stuff for breakfast. They have Japanese stuff for breakfast. They have Chinese stuff for breakfast. So I think it would definitely be worth it. But yeah, regarding stuff to do in the evening, absolutely. And that was kind of the other reason why. Yeah.
Amazing pool.
Yep. Pool, gym, the whole 9 yards.
Is your room would have a bathtub in it like that?
Yep.
Wow.
So I may just pay out of pocket and just stay Friday night, just because I think it'd be easier. Because I know I won't get reimbursed for it, but it's like, okay, if I didn't pay out of pocket, right? And let's just say I go into town Friday night to see the other fellows and like show them around, right? And then I do the same thing on Saturday. The cab rides alone to and from, 4 times instead of, 1 time there and 1 time back on Friday and Saturday. The cab fares alone will cost me about $60 for all 4 of them. Whereas if I just took 1 on Friday to get there and 1 on Saturday night to get back, that would only be about $30. So that alone, I'm already saving a little bit of money. Plus, I have that amazing breakfast, and I have a pool I can go swimming in.
Yes.
I'm probably just going to stay on Friday night, to be honest.
This is a cool hotel, and Jinan, like city center, looks cool.
It's awesome.
And as
it
you
really
mentioned,
is.
It's all very lit up. I love these pictures. This is I need to Google your city more because that's the only way I'll get to see it. So are you nervous?
No, thankfully, I've been given a lot of really good guidance from my boss on what to do. I've already met with people at the hotel.
I'd be so nervous.
Now I'm just waiting 2 more days to get blurbs from the other, to get like the proposals, I guess, for the other fellows to see who wants to present what.
So
but otherwise, yeah.
The attendees are going to be people like your students, essentially?
It would probably be university teachers. So university teachers in Jinan and also anywhere nearby.
Is it open to the public?
I will spread the word with my students. It is. The only problem is I think the seating fits about 60, maybe 70. So it really
depends.
Expect
it to be filled?
I think we will probably get within 30 to 50. Maybe we'll get 60. It really depends.
Okay.
Because so for example,
I'm not gonna lie.
Well, for example, though, in Xi'an we had about 200 teachers signed up, and then we had I think about 40 actually show.
Right. Yeah.
So it really depends.
All right.
But yeah, I think it would be really great. So that will be in December. But November, I'm pretty open, which is nice. Because it's been really great to see these places. But you just don't really get to recharge on the weekends when you're like traveling a lot and you're giving presentations. It's fun, but November it'll be nice to just kind of relax and chill.
For sure.
Catch up on some sleep and all that stuff. So yeah. Now, Jared, I had mentioned before we started the show that I don't have any shout outs. I actually take that back. I do want to give a few shout outs.
Holy shit. Sorry. I was scrolling through pictures of this hotel and I just got to the breakfast buffet picture.
Yeah, the breakfast buffet is awesome.
Whoa.
Like I said.
Wraps around.
Yeah,
sorry.
It's huge. It's super awesome.
Sorry.
You're good.
Ahead,
You're good.
Give me a shout out.
So the shout outs that I would like to give is I would like to give a shout out to my awesome colleague Kelly for being such an amazing host at Chufu, and also a big shout out to her colleagues, her students, and the people at Chufu Normal University they were also super great. The students were awesome when I gave the presentation. Super talkative. I'll send you some action shots, Jared. I should
love
have
the
a couple
action shots.
on my
Those are
phone.
my favorites.
And I also want to give a shout out to all of the teachers at Chufu Oriental Middle School for letting me come and give a workshop. Also, they gave a teaching demonstration. And the teacher that gave the demonstration did a great job of incorporating the games that I showed into her presentation. So that was great. And I'd like to give a shout out to the vice principal of Chufu Oriental Middle School for they actually had a really nice lunch prepared for all of us. We had a great time, and I made some new South African friends who are teachers at Chufu Oriental Middle School as well. Wow. So shout out to all the great people I met. It was really awesome.
You seem to meet a lot of South Africans.
There are a lot here. There's a lot in Jinan, and there's a lot in Chufu. Well, by a lot, I think in Chufu there's, 4 or 5 of them. But still, I've met more. I think I've met more South Africans in my region than I have Americans, that's for sure. So kind of interesting.
Oh, okay. Hey, how often have you come across, since you've been there, a toilet that we're not used to, a hole-in-the-ground style toilet? How often do you
All
come
the time.
across those?
All the time. Anytime I'm in public. Mm-hmm.
So that's sort of the standard?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep, the Squatty Potty. Mm-hmm.
Is there a polite... Have you ever used one for something other than number one?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Not yet. No.
I feel bad bringing that up, but I have so many questions.
Right. So the thing is, though, is the train stations will usually have one stall. It's probably a handicap stall, and that's like a Western-style toilet.
Oh.
But no, I have not used the Squatty Potty yet, the hole in the ground. Honestly, man, like I'm worried I'm going to lose my balance.
You've never used it, period.
Oh no, I've definitely like had to pee before.
Right. Okay.
But
okay. I got you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways,
but anyway, we can do a whole episode about that. That'll be fun. I can already imagine your head like hell no.
Right.
Hey, let's do some untranslatables, Chad.
Let's do it. Mind if I get us started, Jared?
Hey, Chad.
Пожалуйста.
Yeah.
Please.
Well,
Oh,
it's
God,
good.
I
It's
cracked
good you
myself
mentioned
up.
that because my first one is Russian today,
Oh.
and it is
go.
spustia rukava, which means with his sleeves down or sleeves down.
Is it like putting your head down and like, trying to like complete a task? Or the opposite of rolling your sleeves up? Like, not the opposite, but it's like sort of how we say you roll your sleeves up. Where
It
it's like,
is.
all right, time to like get to work.
It
They
is.
don't
So
roll
what
their
would that
sleeves
mean,
up.
Jared?
They roll their
What would
sleeves
that mean?
down. Okay.
Exactly. So what does that mean?
Like to put your head down and get to work, right?
No. I feel like when you roll your sleeves up, that's when you're like, all right, let's get to work.
Right. Like to motivate yourself? Or is it like to...
If you're
I don't
rolling
know,
your
what is-
sleeves down, it
Oh, like
wouldn't
the
be
day's
motivating
over?
yourself. Not quite. No,
All right,
you're
I think I'm
you're so
losing it.
close. You are so close. So it
Clocking
is
out.
to
Go to sleep.
It is to work without enthusiasm.
Oh. So it's just kind of like a monotonous job?
Right, you're just kind of like, it's like I feel like I picture in my head if you roll your sleeves up, you're like, all right, like let's get to work. You roll your sleeves down, you're like, all right, like.
I get that.
Yeah.
Sometimes if I'm like, sometimes I'll like unbutton my my cuffs, and just let them fly. If I'm just like, oh, geez, I just need to. Oh. Anyway,
Right.
my first one is Japanese, and it's Hana Yorira Ingo, and it means dumplings over roses, or you could say dumplings over flowers.
Dumplings over flowers. Is this like necessities over wants?
Yeah, but it's yes, but it's regard. Well, I'll just give it to you because you're very close.
Okay.
It's yes, but like like involving enjoyment. So like substance is better than
okay.
like just flashy things or trinkets.
That makes
people
sense.
enjoying more practical things rather than just like shiny things, essentially.
Okay, that's a good one. That's a good one.
If anyone was ever trying to flatter me with a gift, I much would prefer dumplings to flowers.
Me too. You and me both, buddy. You and me both. My next one is Chinese.
Hint, hint.
And you want me to send you some Chinese dumplings? Because they are really good here. That is for sure.
You've been there for
all right.
how many months and I haven't gotten any dumplings in the mail?
That's true. That's true.
Some
2
dry
months.
ice, Chad.
Right? Oh, speaking of dry ice, well, I'll tell you after the show. It's not really relevant to the Untranslatables. Anyways,
Okay.
so my next one is Chinese, and it is shui di shi chuan, which means constant dripping wears away a stone.
Is this like if you ask enough, you'll get, like if you're persistent, you'll get what you want?
Very good. Very good. Yeah. Or you need to persevere
Yes.
in order to achieve your goals. But yeah, you basically said that. Very good. Mhm.
Wow. I feel like it's been a long time since I've just gotten one like that. I needed that. I needed a W in my book. My next one is Gaelic, what some Irish people speak, and it's Cailin og mor agus mor ag iarea didiche, and it means more has a maid, yet more has to beg. Just imagine more as someone's name.
Oh, okay. So
Chad
for,
has
for
a
both
maid, yet
instances.
Chad has to beg, for example.
Okay. Oh, I feel like there could be a couple justifications for this. So my first guess initially would be like, so Chad has a maid, so Chad has to beg.
Not
means
so Chad has
that-
to beg, by the way. And yet.
Yeah, Chad has a maid, yet Chad has to beg.
Yes.
I think this could mean a few things. My first guess is that this means you're not good with your money, so you're always spending it and buying flashy things, like or buying unnecessary things.
Not really.
But then because you do that, you don't have money. Okay, all right, so not really. All right.
But you're on the right track. I'll give you that.
Okay.
But that's not really what
Okay.
it is.
All right, let's see
So
here.
think about for example, I show up to your house with a new flashy Ferrari or something, and you're like,
Okay.
wow, and it's like, yeah, some of my coworkers showed up with a Porsche, so I don't want them to think that I was not as cool, so I showed up with a Ferrari.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, yeah, it's a little pricey. I mean, it is a Ferrari. You're paying for quality. So, I did have to sell my my car, and then also the hybrid. I had to sell that too. Yeah. And then, surprisingly, Ferraris are more spacious than one would think. So I just went ahead, got rid of the apartment, and live in the Ferrari. But luckily, with that excess money, I spend that excess money on detailing and getting it clean. So when I show up to work, my coworkers are still like, "Wow, that 488 Pista,
It's crispy.
solid purchase." And I was like, "Oh, thanks,
Okay.
Rick. That Porsche 911's cute."
Okay.
Chad
is
has
this
a maid,
like,
yet Chad has to or Jared has a maid, yet Jared has to beg.
I feel like, well, this is just like to spend an exorbitant amount of money to get attention.
To keep up appearances. You're close. It's to keep
Okay.
up appearances.
Okay.
So it's not specifically,
fair.
I wouldn't really say to get attention, but it's like,
To keep
kinda like
up
keeping up with the
appearances,
Joneses,
right.
essentially, which is an American untranslatable.
That's true. That's a good one. Very good. Okay. Well, Jared, those are my untranslatables for today. So I think we might need to get into jet lag, unless you got one more.
Let's talk about jet lag, Chad.
Let's do it. So, Jared, I want to ask. So, you started off the show saying you felt like you were over jet lag, or you didn't affect you. You're too cool for jet lag. When did you? That should be a new T-shirt. Too cool for jet lag. So I wanna ask you though. When did you really start to realize like jet lag is a real thing?
When did I start to realize? I think definitely with age, I started to realize. I started to realize more when I would do more vacations for a short amount of times. So like when I lived in Europe, and when I lived in Germany, and say I took a trip to South Africa, or say I took a trip to Morocco where there's a time change, I think where it was those, like, I start to notice. And then also I think something about age too. I think just, not that I'm old or anything, but I think it's just I have like a less, like the older you get, the less sort of like the less easy, like the harder it is to bounce back from those things, you know? Because I definitely think I noticed it more. I've noticed it more in the past maybe 4 or 5 years.
Okay.
But, I will
tell you.
Oh, please go ahead.
Mm-hmm. I'll tell you. For me, I also used to think the same thing. When I was 14, I went to Germany for the first time, and that's when I really realized that holy crap, jet lag is definitely a thing.
Yeah. I'll tell you this. I still kind of roll my eyes at people that like say they have like a 2-hour time difference, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so jet lagged." I'm like, so it's 10, like go to bed at 10 o'clock, and it's like going to bed at midnight. It's not that different. But after doing some research, I think I'll take that back and apologize to everyone formally here on the Untranslatable podcast. My first question for you, though, Chad, do you prepare for jet lag?
I hadn't in the past, but I think after this episode, I probably will.
Okay.
Because at least I found some interesting stuff about it. I will say this, though, before answering, well, I already did answer that question, but going back to what you said about those people that have like a 2-hour time difference and say like they're jet lagged, I think what they are experiencing is maybe a slight amount of jet lag because of the time difference, but I think really what people mean when they say things like that, I think they're more tired from the travel itself.
Yeah.
So maybe it's a long car ride or a plane ride. Because I do think, although it seems counterintuitive, right? When you travel somewhere, like if you take a train or a plane or something, other than actually like, I think airports can sometimes be a little stressful with like, making sure you get there on time and all the lines and everything else. But once you actually get on the plane or you get on that train or bus or whatever you're using to go somewhere, you would think that traveling wouldn't be tiring. But I think it is really tiring when you're just like sitting there for hours on end.
Well, that's the thing. I can't speak for other people, but one, I'm a terrible sleeper on long flights. So even if I'm going like cross country, and especially since, listen, I'm mostly, and by mostly I mean always, traveling coach. So it's not like I have a bed to lie out on. So that really doesn't help. I'm not a good plane sleeper. And then also, even if it's like a midday flight in the like domestically, there's still like I'm a podcast listener, so I'll like be listening to a podcast on a plane usually, but then I'm kind of just sitting there, and I get very restless on airplanes, and I get very and like it's usually what I'll do is I'll like swipe through Twitter a bunch and preload a whole bunch of Twitter. And then put my phone in airplane mode and then just slide through Twitter. But it's just, I get very antsy on flights. And so I think that like, even though it is like there's nothing it is almost like I'm taxing on my mind in a weird way to sit there and not do anything.
Right. And I think it also depends like the type of travel you have. Like, for example, when I came to China, I was so excited that I think I slept maybe an hour and a half or 2 hours on my like 13-hour flight because I just, my mind just kept going. I was super excited. I was a little nervous, first time in China. I'd never been before, didn't know what it would be like. And so I think it also depends. Like, or I'm also the same way if I'm going to like every time I fly over to Germany, it's the same thing. Like I'm super excited to get back to Germany, like see my friends, enjoy like some good currywurst and some schnitzel. And so I'm super excited. So it's hard for me to sleep.
You got me thinking about something. I have a question I want to ask you. Let's say a short quiz.
Okay. Ooh, let's do it.
So, in what direction of travel is jet lag the toughest? Traveling east to west, west to east, north to south, south to north.
So
Which
I haven't done
will have the strongest jet lag effect on you?
So I haven't really done much north to south or south to north since I was a little kid. Like my grandparents lived in Florida, and that was like a 2-hour plane ride. And I'm pretty sure it was the same time zone too, isn't it? I think it is, or maybe it's an hour difference or something.
That might
I think
be
it's
the same one. Louisiana is an hour behind, but Louisiana is also pretty far over from. Yeah, it's probably the same.
Right. So, anyways, north to south and south to north for me at least I never really experienced any jet lag that I remember. Now, I will tell you when I go from the U.S. to Europe, so that would be west to east, I think that is an easier one for me. Or no, sorry. I think going from east.
That's going east.
Right, east to west, yeah. So, actually, I think it's easier for me when I go from Europe back to the United States. At least for me, the jet lag is better.
Very good, Chad.
Is that actually the correct answer? Okay.
When traveling east. So yeah, you're right. That was the very good intuition, and that is scientifically proven.
And do you know why that is?
Yeah, I can get into that a little bit. Jet lag, I have to read a little bit, but this is interesting. I'm very curious too. Anyone who has crossed multiple time zones knows the misery of jet lag. You're tired when you need to be alert. You can't sleep when you're supposed to. And your gastrointestinal system feels out of whack. These are very true symptoms. You can, digestive symptoms are a very common symptom. And obviously things like nausea or exhaustion.
Yeah, absolutely.
Researchers have even found signs of memory impairment in female flight attendants with chronic jet lag. The symptoms, have you noticed that with Annabelle? You're having a conversation and
no, she's pretty sharp. She's pretty sharp, so no.
She actually is she seems like she's very good at picking up on things people say. The symptoms of jet lag result from two things: the sleep deprivation and the fatigue that come with long stints in a cramped seat and the misalignment of your body clock with the local time zone, says physician Vivek Jain, medical director at George Washington University Hospital Center for Sleep Disorders. Jet lag severity depends on several factors, the most obvious being how many time zones you've crossed. Obviously. Chad right now is in Jinan, China. I'm here in Ferndale, Michigan, and that is a 12-hour time difference. So whenever it's morning for him, it's night for me, and vice versa. But which direction you've traveled matters too. Turns out it's not my imagination. Okay. Your body clock has an innate tendency to run slightly longer than 24 hours, Jane says. Each morning, your body compensates for this slight discrepancy by contracting your internal clock to synchronize with the 24-hour sun cycle. When you travel west, you gain several hours, so your day is extended and your body gets the extra time it naturally wants. But when you travel east, your day is shortened. That makes it harder to adjust, Jane says, because your body has to cut its normal cycle even further. Studies suggest that you can push your body clock back about 2 hours per day, meaning that you can adjust from Washington time to Colorado, or from Michigan, where I live, to Colorado time in a single day, but you can move your body clock forward as when you travel from California to Washington, which would be a 3-hour difference, only by an hour to an hour and a half per day, which leaves you that extra sort of time right there, that extra 2 hours to an hour and a half of jet lag, of like sort of exhaustion there. That's too much time for your internal clock to process.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So,
That makes
it's
sense.
easier to fly. And so you flying to Germany or even China is more difficult than you flying home from China or Germany.
Absolutely.
And we can obviously get into some tips for dealing with jet lag if you would like.
Yes, but before we do that, I just want to share my experience coming to China. Well, and we can also talk about
please.
Europe. So when I went to Europe last year for my Fulbright in the Czech Republic, I would say it took me about 4 to 5 days to really get acclimated with like my new sleep cycle, and not getting up at well, actually, I guess in Europe you would sleep. Do you sleep in late? I think you would sleep in late. Anyways, so it took me about 4 to 5 days in Europe. Here in China, it took me about 2 weeks. So 14 days, way longer than I thought it would. And I could go to bed. I would try to stay up. Like I could really only stay up until about 10 p.m. Like I was like struggling and fighting to stay up until 10 p.m. And I would usually get up at like 3, 4, or 5 a.m. and be completely awake. And I mean, I felt rested, but it was just a schedule I wasn't used to. Now in hindsight, I kind of wish I would have kept with that schedule. And Jared knows I even told him like, oh yeah, I want to do that.
The listeners know
Nope,
too. We've
didn't
talked
happen.
about this.
That's true. That is true.
But
So yeah.
But I understand that, and that's the jet lag right there, convincing you that like, oh no, I can do this. I've had a
Right.
situation when I came back from, I believe it was Tanzania. This was, I got back that night. So I got back on a Sunday night, or Sunday. Excuse me. I got back on a Sunday afternoon, and
Okay.
I wanted to stay awake throughout the day and then go to bed that night and like go to work the next day. Excuse me. I take that back. I got back in the morning. I got back at like noon, probably 11 or noon, and so I wanted to stay up the whole day. By 8 o'clock, I literally felt like fully intoxicated, drunk, and like
Yep.
I was like loopy and I like couldn't think straight. And I went to bed at like 8 o'clock, and the next day I still wasn't really straight. And I was like, I cut that too close. Another time, I actually I was going. That's interesting. I flew from Colorado or California, one of those two, to Michigan. So I was flying east.
Okay.
And I got back not late. I got back around 10 o'clock, maybe went to bed by midnight that night. Went to work the next day. The next day, I was so jet lagged that around noon, luckily I have a job where this was a different job. I had a job where I can do this, but like I had to leave at noon. Like I couldn't even like focus. I was like, I'm just sitting here and just like, it kind of was the same feeling as when I got back from Tanzania. Because, I got back so late, I really had no time to have a full night's sleep. I was going,
Right.
I was flying east. And like the next day at work, I was like, I can barely even look straight at my computer. There's no point in me even being here and just like staring at a computer screen that's like swirling in front of me.
Right. Yeah.
Can
It's really important.
So I want to,
Yes, you can,
as
Jared.
someone that has had many jet lag experiences, both of us actually, I have a couple. Well, I have more than a couple. A few to more than a few facts and or myths about jet lag, and I want to ask you
Okay.
whether this is
Great.
a myth or a fact.
Great. I'm excited.
Myth and or fact number 1. Jet lag is caused by lack of sleep.
Well, I think this one, I think that is a factor. Yes. I don't think that's the only cause, but I'm going to say that is true. Fact.
That is a factor, but it is a myth because that is not what actually causes jet lag.
Oh, really?
Jet lag
Okay.
occurs when we experience a desynchronization between our internal body clock and the external time
Okay.
clock of our destination.
Okay.
Sorry, something popped up on my computer. I got distracted reading. I want to make sure we were still here. We're still here.
We are
Said
still
Natalie
here.
D. Dodovich, an environmental scholar at the National Sleep Foundation. Symptoms of the desynchronization include fatigue, difficulty sleeping, difficulty concentrating, indigestion, and negative mood. So that's a symptom of jet lag. That's not what causes jet lag.
Okay. That's fair.
Book a daytime flight to help your jet lag, to help combat jet lag. I said that wrong at first.
I don't know. I don't really know if that would help that much, just because you're still, like, there's still a time zone change and your body's still not used to it. So I'm going to go with myth. Yeah, my choice for this one is myth.
That is you're wrong. One of the easiest ways to avoid some symptoms of jet lag is to book daytime flights instead of overnight travel. That way, when you land, you can simply eat dinner and head to bed within a few hours of landing instead of forcing yourself to stay up all day with no sleep.
Okay.
Which is what I tried to do when I got back from Tanzania, and I felt like I ate a bunch of acid and mushrooms. Honestly, I'm not even really exaggerating. It did feel like I was hallucinating a little bit.
Lack
sleep
of
on
sleep
a plane,
will do that.
Sleep on the plane and you'll be fine. Myth or fact?
Oh, that's a myth.
There you go.
I've slept on planes before,
Ta-da.
and it's that's a myth.
We all have that one friend who stays up all night and rolls onto the plane exhausted with the idea that they can sleep their way through the flight and wake up well rested. There's just one problem. Airplanes are a terrible place to sleep, said Dr. Brazil.
Yep.
It's better to fly well rested, especially because most flights aren't long enough to get a full night's sleep anyway. Forget about the jet lag for a minute, because you're only on a 5-hour flight and that's your nighttime. It's going to be hard to get enough sleep, Dr. Brazil points out. Unless you're one of those people who can survive on less than 4 hours of sleep a night, expect to arrive exhausted. And even if you can't, quote unquote, survive on 4 hours of sleep, you're not getting a quality 4 hours of sleep on an airplane.
Definitely not.
Even if you claim you can sleep well, it's not the same.
Right. Very true.
A glass of wine or beer will help you sleep on a plane.
Well, I've been told that you should not drink alcohol if you're trying to combat jet lag. So I'm going to say myth.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
This is sort of an obvious one. I mean, it's the same sort of with even if you're not on a flight, they say, it's always said that, like, even though one might theoretically be able to quickly fall asleep on alcohol, it doesn't allow you to properly reach your REM cycle. So you're sleeping, and you're conscious, but it's not good sleep.
Right. It's not that deep REM sleep. Exactly.
Myth or fact? Never ever nap.
To overcome. Well, see, I try to avoid napping the first couple days just so I can try to get my sleep schedule synced up. But like when I came to China, I definitely took a nap the first couple days I was here.
Did it make it hard to fall asleep?
It didn't. No.
Okay.
But I was so exhausted that I think I really needed it. Now, I took like an hour nap. I've actually heard that it's better to only take like a 20-minute nap, but I also don't know how people do that, because at least for me, I feel like if I set my alarm for 20 minutes, it's going to take me 20 minutes to fall asleep, and then my alarm goes off. I
feel like the shortest successful nap that I can do is an hour.
Same.
Ideally, a nap for me is 2 to 3 hours, though.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Your body may be desperate for... What did you say?
Myth or fact? I would say...
Never ever nap as a way to combat jet lag. Myth or fact?
It's probably a fact.
That is a myth.
Maybe?
Your body may
myth.
be desperate for a snooze, but common jet lag lore says to never ever nap to avoid it throwing off your schedule. Dautovich agrees that in general, when you're fighting jet lag, it's a good idea to avoid naps, but understands that sometimes sleep is necessary. If you must sleep during the day, take a short nap in the early afternoon, but no longer than 2 hours, she says. That's way more generous than what we were thinking, too, because I agreed with you. I thought that the proper nap was like 20 to 30 minutes, and I was like, that's that's how long it takes me to fall asleep, probably, like you.
Right.
Set an alarm to be sure not to oversleep.
Definitely. And make sure when you set an alarm, I'll never forget, like my first day in Vienna, when you and I got to Vienna, we had our Austrian phones, and I forgot that my phone was in military time. So I went to set my alarm for like 5:30. And then I woke up at like 7, and I'm like, what the heck? Like, what? Why didn't my alarm go off? Why did I sleep for like 3 hours? Yeah. And then I looked at my phone. I
accidentally do that occasionally because my phone's still on military time.
Right. Mine is too, but now thankfully I know. But yeah. So just a little fun tip for all of you people out there that if your phone switches or if your phone's in military time or you get a new phone, keep that in mind. But yeah, good. Do you have any other myths or facts for me, Jared? This is fun.
One more. Dealing with jet lag can start before you arrive in your destination.
Probably. I think that could definitely be true, especially like if you take like a 13-hour flight, or what was that longest flight we talked about? 19 hours?
Yes.
I think it definitely could happen. So I'm going to go with truth. That's a fact.
That is a great example that you bring that up, because I found an article that on that flight, they had people, they didn't have a full plane. I think they had about 40 people on this flight, all in using the business class seats. And so they had, as I mentioned on the episode where I talked about this, they had activities where, they specifically wanted you to go to bed at stay awake at a specific time, go to bed at a specific time.
Right.
They served you specific styles of food. One of the things they did, and they also had some exercises to keep people in stretches to keep people active on the flight. One of them was the Macarena. They had people.
Oh, that is hilarious.
On the flight doing the Macarena to fight jet lag. And it really was like, these flights, these companies. I didn't realize how much airlines were investing into fighting jet lag. There's another airline, I don't remember which airline it is, but an airline invested in an app, like a time, sort of like a jet lag app, to help fight jet lag. So like I didn't realize airlines cared about
interesting.
So I thought that was interesting.
Very interesting.
So Chad,
nice.
We should obviously talk about some tips for dealing with jet lag.
Okay, great. So, Jared, just a heads up. So I scheduled, this is typical China for you, I scheduled for my Wi-Fi guy to come at 11:30 so we wouldn't be interrupted. I just got a message from my student saying the guy is on his way, so we can keep talking, but I may get a knock on my door and the Wi-Fi guy will be here. So just a heads up. So if this episode is cut a little short, just so you know.
We can adjust.
I told them 11:30.
Maybe we skip some of the end of the pod stuff, but we got the meat of it, and that's what really matters.
We do.
Some tips for dealing with jet lag.
Tips. Oh, and I just lost my power. Gotta love China. Just lost my power. Great. Continue though, Jared.
But we're still good for now.
Yep. Yes, we are.
Simulate your new schedule before you leave. If you're traveling east, start moving your bedtime earlier, says Avelino Velcellis, MD, assistant professor at the University of Maryland School of Medicine. Shift a half hour earlier each night for several nights before you leave. I'm going to be honest with you, I'm never going to do this.
Right.
Now, that's an interesting idea,
I wouldn't do that either.
But I'm never going to do that.
Yeah, me either.
Adapt to your new schedule while in flight. This is something that airline did. Change your watch when you get on the plane. This is mostly psychological, says Seaburn, but it helps you get in the mindset of what you'll be doing in the place when you're where you're going. I'm gonna be honest with you, I never change my watch. I usually wear a watch on my wrist. I never change the time. I just do the math.
Right.
And I think that might be hurting me.
Could be, yeah.
Arrive early if this is possible. This is another one. Is it really possible? Who knows? Arrive early. If you need to be on your game,
I don't think that's...
when you get to the location,
Right.
arrive like 2 days early. Stay hydrated. Now, this is very
That's an important
doable,
one.
and this is something
That
I
one's
try to
very
do
important.
when I'm at the airport. And also, in addition to staying hydrated, avoid both alcohol and caffeine, which is hard to do at an airport.
I would agree with that.
Do you do this on airplanes? Do you move around? Do you ever get up just to walk around? Or when you pee, do you maybe take a longer lap or something like that?
I did when I was in China, yes.
Okay.
I did.
Do some static exercises and stretch on the flight. Did you do any static exercises?
I did not. No, I did not.
Have you ever used melatonin?
I haven't, but a lot of people do swear by it and say... sorry, 1 second here. A lot of people swear
doctors-
by it and they say it works.
Doctors
say
suggest
what?
taking 3 milligrams of melatonin an hour or two before bedtime at your destination and plan to sleep for 10 hours. Now, maybe I wish we would have had this conversation
okay.
closer to when you got into China because I would have loved to see how
Right.
that helped.
I'm not sure if it would have, because I still would have been, I don't know.
You're so negative, Chad. Have you ever noticed that? It's always why you can't do things, why it won't work out. Try natural light therapy. I thought this one was interesting. Exposure to sunlight helps helps regulate our circadian rhythms. On westward flights, get bright morning light at your new destination and avoid afternoon and evening light exposure, Vercellis suggests. On eastward flights, avoid early light exposure in the morning and get as much light as possible in the afternoon and early evening. I find this very interesting, but I mean, I'm going to do with my day what I have to do with my day. I can't what am I going to do? Just sit in a dark room all day if I'm going east? But I love
Right.
that makes perfect sense to me, though. I do get it. Eat sensibly. Right. It's important to maintain a healthy diet. Take
Absolutely.
a hot bath before bedtime. Have you heard this one before?
I have. I haven't actually. No. Well, I've tried it not for jet lag, but I definitely think it works. Yeah.
I've heard not
would say.
for jet lag, but I have heard. And Chad is so afraid right now that he can't even concentrate on my. I have heard that for, in general, taking a hot bath or even a hot shower before you go to bed helps you go to bed. Minimize sleep distractions, meaning wear an eye mask or earplugs. It may help you sleep on the plane or at your destination. And I get that, but I cannot sleep with earplugs in. Maybe an eye mask I could do. I've never really tried, but I don't want to sleep with earplugs in. I feel like I might have a slight fear that I'm going to wake up and the earplugs are going to be so deep in my ear that I can't get them out, Or maybe I'm going to have a fear that it hit some sort of serious drum or rod or cone in my ear. Rods, cones, is that ears? That's eyes.
I think it would be cones. No, I'm not sure.
And
All
another
right.
one,
sorry,
as
had to pay my electricity.
Another one,
sorry.
as we talked about earlier, is avoid arriving at night. Try those daytime flights if you can.
Right. Yeah. Oh, and power is back, people. There we go.
It's crazy how quick that happens because in the U.S., power doesn't go out like that if you don't pay your bill.
Right. And yeah, it's really weird. It's really, really weird.
Let's talk about this song of the pod, Chad. I love this song of the pod.
Let's do it.
What's the name of the group?
I believe it's Five Nizza, I think.
Okay. So
and it's two Russian guys. I think they're Russian.
Ukrainian.
They sing in Russian. Oh, okay. So two Ukrainian guys.
They're from Kharkiv, Ukraine.
Okay. And they do acoustic guitar and reggae, voice, and it's kind of a reggae style. The song is called Soldat, which is Russian for soldier, also German for soldier.
It written in the Russian Cyrillic, it looks like it would be not that.
Right. If you're not used to the spelling,
it looks
right.
like it's CO something. It ends
Right,
with the
right.
but it does end with an AT. Anyway, I love this song. I love the way they say "soldat." And every time they said it, it puts a little smile on my face.
Right. Well, and so they're saying at least "ya soldat" is I'm a soldier.
Okay.
"Ya" is I in Russian. I do know that because it's the same in Czech.
What do they mean by "I'm a soldier"?
I'm not really sure.
Like, what's the context
I'm not really
for
sure.
that?
That's a great question. We'd have to ask David, and he could tell us, but I'm really not sure.
By the way, speaking of David, I noticed he's back in the Czech Republic.
He is, yeah.
Semester number 2 for him. Or not semester.
Year number 2.
10-month stint number 2, yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
I love this song. And I think... I feel like saying reggae, I get why you say that, because like the style of it is reggae, but it doesn't sound that reggae. Like the style of it sounds like a reggae like style in the way that it's set up musically, but it doesn't sound reggae. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, it's because it's only acoustic guitar and voice. I think if they had drums and horns and stuff like that and bass, it'd have more of a reggae vibe to it. But I think for me, at least, when I hear the guitar, the rhythm of the guitar, it's very reggae-esque, for sure.
Okay. Hey, so just before we keep going, let's real quick. Once your person does arrive, if it interrupts our podcast, you are welcome to go, and I'll finish up the podcast for once. I've never done that before. This will be very exciting.
All right. Sounds good.
Do you have a Chinese word of the pod for us, Chad?
I have a Chinese phrase of the pod today.
Oh,
and
overachiever here.
Yeah, that's right. It's "buja dao," and "buja dao" means I don't know. It's been a useful one.
Have you used that a lot?
Well, I first say "ti butong," which is I don't understand, and then usually they still keep speaking to me in Chinese, and sometimes talk even louder. It's not a volume issue, people. It's my comprehension, and then I just say "buja dao." Like, I don't know.
Is it necessary for you to say, "Do you speak English"?
Mluvite anglicky.
I haven't actually asked that.
Or is it like
because
obvious that like that would be what they would go to if they knew it?
Exactly. Most people will try. And if I know they don't try, then it's like, all right, either you don't speak English or maybe you can read and write a little bit of English, but you definitely don't speak it. So,
but they're not like,
that's
no
my
one's
Chinese
going to go to
word
like
pod.
French before they go to like, oh, do you speak French? Because I happen to know some French.
Right.
My Spanish word of the pod is agotamiento or ajotamiento. I don't know how.
Is that jet lag?
No.
No. Okay. What is it?
But jet lag. It's a symptom of jet lag.
Okay.
Exhaustion.
Exhaustion. Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. Okay. Nice.
Ajotamiento.
Okay, that's good to know. That's very good to know.
Yeah.
Okay, nice. Well, let's recap this episode then, Jared. We definitely talked about some good myths and facts of jet lag. I think the key, though, to overcoming jet lag is, like we said, stay hydrated. It's so easy to get dehydrated, especially on really long flights.
Yes.
So stay hydrated, friends. That's for sure.
Every time they offer me water on a like international flight, I'd say I always take it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you have to. You definitely have to. So yeah, I would say that's one of them. Another thing as well for jet lag that I think is really important is trying to get your body back on rhythm. So I think that's really important as well, whether that be, for me personally, I try to stay awake as long as I can. If not, take a short nap, like we said, in the early afternoon, not for too long either. But yeah, I think the big thing about jet lag too is, for me, I also like to keep myself busy, because if I don't do anything, I'll fall asleep, or I might even think about the jet lag more. And I think sometimes whenever there's something that's bothering you, whether it's exhaustion or whatever, I think if you think about it too much, it gets even worse.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. And it's just when you have nothing else to do, you somehow, at least me personally, I somehow always manage to find myself maybe not in bed, but definitely in a horizontal position. And I'm like, how am I on the sofa right now? I was just sitting at a desk 5 minutes ago, and somehow I've made it to the sofa now, lying down.
Right.
Yeah, stay active. Have something to do, and get outside. I'd say is an important one too.
I would agree. So I think that's a good recap. Stay active, stay hydrated, and hopefully you can overcome your jet lag.
You betcha.
And if you have trouble sleeping, melatonin can be useful. So try those out. We hope you are able to overcome your jet lag to your next destination, and we hope this helps. I definitely don't think that planning to sleep on the plane is a good strategy. Like planning to sleep on the plane and getting somewhere and feeling fresh. At least that's never happened to me and all the places I've traveled to.
I've never really slept
think it
well
will.
on a plane, though, so I'm the wrong person to
Until
talk
we get to that first class status. Then maybe it'll be a different story.
We have our own room with a bed.
Right. Exactly. And a shower and two TV screens.
Michelin-rated dinner.
Right. Exactly. So we hope this episode provided you with some tips and tricks to overcome jet lag and some myths and facts as well, which was definitely a good learning experience for me. So thank you, Jared, for that. And let us know what you do to overcome jet lag at untranslatablepodcast@gmail.com. Check out our Instagram, Untranslatable Podcast, for clips and pics. Check out some pics of Chufu. And I think you'll like them. It's a super cool place. The Confucius Temple is worth a visit. If you are in Chufu for some reason, check that out. And also, if you want to see our beautiful faces or check out our Song of the Pod, Soldat by 5 Nizza, check that out on YouTube, Untranslatable Podcast.
Yes.
And lastly, please, 5-star reviews on iTunes and Stitcher. Let us know how we can make this podcast better for you. We would love to hear your feedback. You're also welcome in the review or also through our social media platforms. Let us know if there's any topics you'd like us to cover, or if you have some untranslatables. We'd love to give you a shout out and feature your untranslatable or your topic idea on our podcast. So let us know. So without further ado, we thank you all so much for your support. And as we say here at the Untranslatable Podcast, Děkujeme, which is gracias, and shishya.